Hi, my name is Jayoza. I teach, mentor, and coach people on public speaking so that they can give winning high stakes speeches, whether it's one on one in a job interview, or in front of a small group at a business meeting, or before a large crowd at a conference. The speech tip I want to give today is getting the audience to react. So let me explain. There are a lot of tips out there that tell you what you have to do. And then there are a lot of tips out there that tell you you got to know the audience. And those are all fine tips, there's nothing wrong with them. But there's one specific tip that you don't see people really ever tell you. And that is you need to evoke some kind of a response from the audience. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to convince others. So let me explain what I mean. There's a famous example that was studied by a psychologist, and it had to do with the 1984 presidential debate between, at that time, President Ronald Reagan versus Walter Mondale. So I'm going to give you a little history here, but just so I can set this up. During the first debate, Reagan did not have a good performance. A lot of people thought he had lost his fastball, as if he had if he had gotten elected, which he did, he would have been the oldest president. And in first debate, he kind of stumbled at a lot of facts and stuff. So people thought maybe he's too old for the office. So they had to prep him for the second debate. They had to change the strategy and say, look, there's no way he's going to be able to remember all these facts and details. Let's let Reagan be Reagan. That was the motto. So Roger Ailes, who was recently the head of president of Fox News, he's no longer there, and he's a very influential guy. He's an expert on communications, and he prepared Reagan for that debate. And one of the things they did is they gave him this prefabricated line to use during the debate about Mondale's youth. I don't remember the exact. You can find it on YouTube. And according to all the experts, that line alone decided the election. But there was more to it than that. And it's kind of interesting that, here we're trying to elect for the most important position, and it comes down to some one-liner that he used, that he had memorized, and that was it. Can you believe it? It had nothing to do with any issues or anything. It was that one line that he uttered about that he was not going to use Mondale's youth against him or something like that. Okay, so the psychologist did some research, and what he found was very interesting. When he played that and removed the audience chuckle, Mondale won the debate. The one audience that he showed it to. The second audience, he left the audience reaction as it happened, and Reagan won the debate. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? What it shows is that it wasn't the one-liner that helped Reagan win the debate. It's the audience reaction is what gave people the cues, like, hey, maybe he said something really interesting. Wow, that was really funny. And Reagan won the debate according to the experts, and went on to beat Mondale in the general election and became and won the re-election. But there is a bigger lesson here, and it has to do with public speaking. That when you're speaking, like right now I'm speaking in front of a camera, I can't evoke any kind of response back from the camera. It's pretty stationary and inanimate, and it's just going to sit there. But if I'm speaking in front of a live audience, I'm trying to get some kind of a response. So when you use humor, when you use a story, when you use anything, and if the response is there from the audience, it helps convince people in the audience, like, wow, people laughed. He must have said something funny. Oh, maybe he's a good speaker. So you have to work on this aspect in your speech. Now, this is kind of advanced. We never even think about it. We're just so focused on trying to get our speech done that we never think about, like, how do I naturally evoke some kind of a response from the audience? And I'll give you three more examples just to show you how effective this is. You know, when you see politicians have rallies, they always want the audience to respond. Like during when Obama was running in 2008, the famous response that he wanted from the audience was, "Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can." And when people hear that, they immediately feel like, wow, they're all into it. Look, it could be started by a few people and then everybody joins in, and then if you're watching it, you suddenly feel like, wow, people are really into his message. They're really into his candidacy. And it spreads. It's so effective. It's like a wave. When somebody starts it, nothing happens. But if everybody joins in, the whole stadium is kind of rocking, right? So the audience response is very important when you are giving a speech. If you're not getting audience response, you're not convincing a lot of people. That's a very good indication. So one of the things about improvisation when they talk about is, how do you get audience to respond so they can help you persuade others, influence others? And that's what you want. That's a hallmark of a great speaker. And recently we saw that with Donald Trump. Every time he would bring up the wall, people would start, yelling, "Build the wall, build the wall." And it worked. It got other people to say, "Hey, everybody's supporting him. Maybe he's right. I'll vote for him." And he won the election. And the fourth example is the one that's not in politics. It's Tony Robbins. If you ever watch Tony Robbins speak, he gets audience interactive. He really interacts well with the audience. And one of his famous thing that he always does is he always gets audience to say "I." He'll say "I." The way he does it is, I can't do his voice. He'll say "I," and everybody in the audience will say "I." And after a while, I have no idea what he said. Things that, and in the way he says it in such an assertive manner. "Well, one of the most important thing you gotta do is learn how to connect. Say "ah," and everybody will start saying "ah," and after a while, you're like, wow, I'm going to start connecting. He's very effective. Watch his speeches. He does that so well. So the point is that when you're giving a speech, you have your content, you have done a lot of work, you know the audience, all of that stuff. But you got to get the audience to react to you. You've got to get them to say something like, "Yes," or "Yes, we can," or "Build the wall," or say "ah." If you do that, you are really becoming, I call it the level 5 speakers, where you're going to achieve your objective. So next time when you're speaking, rehearse. How are you going to get your audience to interact with you? Make them part of your speech. Have a conversation with them. Get them excited. Get them to become part of it. It's no different than when you see at rock concerts where a particular song, the spectators, they all know the words, and they will sing it for the star. The rock star doesn't have to do anything. And that can go on for like 5-10 minutes. And usually that's the memorable part of a concert if you think about it. And this is no different when you're speaking. Let the audience be part. But you got to be careful here. You want to maintain control. So this is something you want to do it, but at the same time you got to be careful that you could lose control if you're not careful and in how you do it. So try this, think about it, rehearse it, and start practicing it and start using it. And I bet you're going to become a much better speaker than you are. Okay? Thank you for watching and good luck.